Welcome to Power and Pounders Music Channel. I am your host, Coran Lategra. It is March 21st, and it's the first day of spring, I think it is. And also it is March Madness. The madness is here, the madness is back. So I hope you guys filled out all your brackets and, being a North Carolinian. I got to go for Carolina. Now, I know they didn't deserve to get in, but they're in, and hopefully they will win tonight against Mississippi State. So we'll see what happens. But welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Be much appreciated. Well, my guest today, I reached out to him a couple of weeks ago. He interviewed Thomas Lockett, the drummer from the band Slave back in the 70s and 80s, funk band. And I grew up listening to all the stuff that they played and beyond, being a funk drummer and so forth, and just different genres and all that kind of good stuff. So I reached out to him, and I just want to welcome Joe Kelley to the show here. He's a radio
What's up?
host and all that good stuff.
What's up, brother? How you doing, Karan?
All right, how you doing, man? Welcome to P&P.
Hey, love it, man. You got the drums in the background, and
Studio
yeah,
here.
yeah. I did do a bracket. I chose Houston, but
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
We
so
talked earlier. Joe's from Connecticut, so you got
yeah,
to he's a traitor.
yeah. But see, the radio station where I worked for from '82 to 2016 was based out of Fairfield University.
Okay.
So I rooted for them, and back in the '70s and '80s, they used to beat up on UConn before
Oh, yeah.
UConn got Big East. So yeah,
Yeah.
and I went to Temple University. So
Temple, yeah. Temple used
yeah,
to be, they used to be one of the
yeah,
powerhouses too.
yeah. John Chaney. Yep.
Yep. Back in the day. So yeah, man, I reached out to Joe, and I said I wanted to get an interview with him. He's got some great stories in the radio industry and the music industry. People he's interviewed. I just saw his interview with Patrice Rushen and Thomas Lockett, as I said earlier, and he did some stuff with Shelia. So did some stuff with Prince and people with Prince. So he's got a lot of good stories to tell. So first of all, I want to ask, how did you get involved with radio? First of all, are you a musician? Did you
Yeah.
play music or anything?
I grew up listening to music, loving music, and my mom was a singer. And well, back in the day was the Columbia Record Club. You
Okay.
can order like 10 records for a penny, and then after that you had to pay it. So back then I was more into, I'd say, like Led Zeppelin, Aerosmith, and Elton John. And then my first records I bought Kung Fu Fightin', Carl Douglas,
Okay.
and the Jacksons' Enjoy Yourself.
Yeah.
So and then Soul Train. I first watched Soul Train, and it was over after that.
Yeah.
Every Saturday I had to watch it. So that's how I got into funk and R&B, and still
Yeah.
still doing it today like that.
Soul Train, man. I remember waking up every Saturday morning, like you said, watching American Bandstand.
Yeah. Oh
Soul
yeah,
Train.
yeah. Exactly. Back to back, right?
Yeah, they were back to back. Well, at least in North Carolina they were. They were back to back, and yeah.
Yeah,
So
the only oh go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I said the only thing that's disappointing is that on YouTube they've got so many Soul Train episodes and clips, but they're in like terrible quality.
Yeah. That's
So
true. Yeah.
so
So take me
hopefully
back to what got you into radio. I mean,
okay.
I mean, music journalism, being a writer, being an interviewer, and stuff like that. But I just want to get involved with radio. What was that first niche that you go, I'm thinking about how you do a career in this? Because you don't get to
Yeah.
go to college and do a degree. You
You
know?
can, but I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah.
Or you can go to a broadcasting school, which I still
Okay,
don't think is
yeah.
necessary. But the
Yeah.
way I got into it was graduated from high school that summer, the beginning of the summer. I just went over to the radio station where WVOF in Fairfield at Fairfield University, where I was from '82 to 2016,
Mhm.
and I just asked, "Can I do a show?" I had no idea what I was going to do, and the college student who was running the station said, "Yeah, sure." I think I filled out some paperwork to get a license, and then just I did every kind of show there. I mean, morning show. We even did like a relationship, a
Wow. Okay.
call-in show at night, which was a disaster. And then just play kind of the stuff that I play now, like funk, R&B, jazz,
Okay.
and just just loved it.
Mhm.
And I was there that summer, and then actually, I had like a few years in between that summer and coming back the late 80s, early 90s to VOF. I went away to college. I was at NYU, and then
Okay.
we were talking off air about our various trips to live and work in different countries. And
Yeah.
I worked in Taiwan as a editor for a publishing company and
Okay.
writing textbooks.
Wow. Okay.
And the thing that kept me involved over there was for broadcasting. They had me do all the voiceovers for the English textbook. So
Mhm.
I would write it, get it, would work as a team to edit the textbooks for high school, colleges, grammar school, and then go into the studio and record. So I always
Okay.
kept in the broadcasting field.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So now, I mean, of course, what year are we talking? It's late
Yeah, 82 is
80.
this when I
Okay.
graduated. Oh, but for 2 years, after freshman year in college, which I didn't do so good, so I came back to Connecticut and went to a local college. I did work at a professional station, pro station, WNAB in Bridgeport. So that was a great experience. I mean, it was commercials, and actually the first interview I set up, I didn't do the interview I set up for the night R&B DJ,
Mhm.
was New Edition. So
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so you know, uh, the funny thing is the station no longer exists, and we always joke like sometimes you come and get your paycheck on Thursday, and they say come back tomorrow. The money wasn't ready. But
Yeah.
yeah, so those 2 years, I think it was 83, 84.
Okay.
But it was great experience. I mean, and different than it is today in commercial radio for the most part.
Yeah.
Nobody was tapping me on my back and saying, you have to play this. I could
Yeah.
bring my own records. Back then it was like carts, tapes you'd put in,
Yeah.
and nobody pressurized. I like engineered the Larry King overnight. It was like a
Okay.
syndicated talk, radio show, and I'd go in the back room and make my own demo tapes while I had to engineer. But
Wow. Okay.
yeah, a lot of great memories doing all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I mean, so when you went to college, did you take broadcasting
I initially,
classes or
yeah, I went to NYU for a semester, and I was an accounting student, which
okay?
I don't know why I signed up for that, but it just didn't work.
Yeah.
And so I actually lasted a semester there and came back to Connecticut. But, when I was living in the dorm, I think I've told this before, but in the dorm that I lived in, Rick Rubin from Def Jam Records was
Mhm.
starting Def Jam Records there. So from what I read, and I had no idea who he was or what he was
Yeah.
doing, but LL Cool J and Run DMC and Russell Simmons were all coming into the dorm with demo tapes and everything. It's in a documentary, but
Okay. Yeah.
then I came back to Connecticut and studied radio, TV, and film.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, we were just talking off air since it is March Madness.
that's right.
So,
Yeah,
being a North Carolina person, so I hope they win tonight, but we'll see.
yeah. I didn't
Connecticut, they're
follow as
going for
much.
a three-peat, so you got to root for your home.
Yeah, at least you're guaranteed to have a team pretty
Yeah.
much every year that goes deep into the tournament, right?
So, so now when you went to school and you didn't get approached about doing radio, was it just the fact that, you had the voice, you had that late night voice,
I don't know about that. But thanks. But it was pretty much my own when I was in Taiwan, and then I came back to the States, and I said, I want to go get back into doing a radio show. I was, doing textbooks and studio work, but I said I started working at Fairfield University, 90, 91, I think it was, and I just started back up with the radio show, and it was great. It was like never missed a beat,
yeah.
four
Now,
hour show. Yeah.
Of course, back then, I mean, things now are more digitized. Back then, you actually had the records,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Like
And
the crates.
the 40, yeah,
Yeah,
45s. And, I think
right.
I graduated from high school in
Okay.
1982. So
Hey, we're the same year.
yeah,
That's it.
that's when I graduated from high school in
Yeah.
1982. So, yeah, I mean, so when you got all these records and demos were there like people that were already established bands, or were there like a band to send in an EP type of thing to try to get discovered from play our record type of thing, or were they actually professional people?
Well, back in like I'd say 82 to 84, I belonged to a DJ record pool where
Mhm.
you paid like a monthly or weekly fee and you'd go every week to the record store. They give you like 12 to 15 records from major labels and you would have to listen and write a review down about
Okay.
what you felt about the record. So most of those were established. A few like people you didn't know, what they were doing or who they were, but
Mhm.
that was pretty much an established thing. Heading into the early 90s, that's when I took it all upon myself. I mean, people like always ask, how do you get in contact with these musicians that come on your show? I said,
Mhm.
I just get in contact, email
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
artist directly or their record company or their manager. I mean,
Yeah.
you're basically just fishing
Yep.
for people. And, unfortunately, you probably find the same thing maybe, but there's a lot of I don't know. Yeah, I'll come on. No, and you go back and forth and
Yeah.
things. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the frustrating part. But
Yep.
yeah,
Cutting through
that's
the red tape.
yeah, a lot of red tape and people
Yeah.
forget. And I
Yeah.
don't think people are mean spirited, but it just I don't know the nature of the business. But
Yeah.
as far as you're talking about musicians, I think it's a combination. I mean, my wife, who's the producer of the show, she and myself, we solicit the artists and say, "Can you send the music for the show?" And a lot of times they want to drop the music in what's your address, or now most people just want to send you the MP3. So
Yeah. 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 They send the MP3, or yeah, like you said, back in crates, because
yeah,
I mean, plus, you had a board, right? A mixing board, and you had the
yeah, yeah. It
commercials,
was
and
commercials. You'd have the dials and two turntables to the side, and,
yeah,
and reel to reel tapes, which was
yeah, the
uh,
analog.
analog. You cut the commercial with and splice with the razor blade. I mean, I wasn't the best at that, but I tried
Yeah,
it.
yeah, probably in today's world,
Yeah.
it's so, like I said, everything is so digitized now, you know.
And I also did pretty much the same thing up until the pandemic. I DJ'd parties, like
Okay.
private parties and
Okay.
weddings and stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't do the records for any of those parties because I started with CDs and
Gotcha. Yeah.
yeah, but radio music programs and interviews and stuff like that. That's the first love.
No. Now, what was your genre that you started out with? You mentioned earlier that you kind of got into the funk R&B.
Yeah.
That like this music you just love because of what?
It was I don't know, it was like something hitting me right inside like when and it was since I got into radio it was funk R&B and it was
Yeah.
like the goosebumps coming up on your arm
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I always thought I mean the era we grew up 82, 83, 84, 85 I thought man this music's going to be at the peak for forever
Yeah.
and we found out it's a tough go even though there's great funk bands out there artists
Yeah.
but yeah that was it the funk and going to shows. I mean, Stevie Wonder was my first show in high school with Gil Scott
Okay.
Heron. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you did now. Were you able to like critique records? Because you said you were writing reviews. How did that?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't extensive reviews. It was kind of like, yeah, the groove's good. I love the bass line. It's a good danceable thing.
So
To
that?
be honest, I just wanted the records.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
what, every time I would watch American Bandstand and Dick Clark would ask, what did you think about the beat? Oh, the beat was good. That's the first
Yeah,
thing that was,
that's
you
right.
can
Yeah, they would
dance
say
to.
it. It's like all cliches.
Yeah, yeah.
But it
So,
was good. I mean, I was telling Patrice Rushen, I said, like when I got into radio, those are the moments like that's still stand out the most. Like
yeah,
her promo records came in and it's like, wow. And then
yeah.
she's on the show. I wanted to have her on for years and we finally connected.
Wow. And that's the thing too. And that's one of the questions I wanted to ask you compared to the music today. Back then, you had so many different elements in the music itself. I mean, the bass was
Yeah.
like, that was pretty, for me, it was like the dominant part of the music,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
bass. And then, of course, the drums and so forth. But I mean, the bass was just groove.
Mm.
I mean, I grew up listening to the Ohio Players and Earth, Wind and Fire, and today's music, you don't have that sound anymore. What do you think? What
Yeah.
happened?
Well, growing up like yourself, I mean, to me, nothing beat walking into a big arena. You walk in and you're on like the second level. You're looking down. There's a huge stage set up, instruments, mics, and everything. You know there's going to be a show.
Yeah,
People played music. They sang. They entertained. So that's where we come from. But I think it just got, to be honest, it got easier for people to make music and not necessarily better music.
hmm,
And you didn't. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a musician, but a lot of music is coming out of what we're broadcasting from the computer and stuff like that.
hmm,
And
hmm.
I don't think they're in a room necessarily rehearsing three, four musicians and getting on each other's nerves or
Yeah,
finding that song that becomes a hit or something like that. It's
yeah,
a lot of times it's just one person doing their thing.
yeah. And that's from a drummer's perspective. That's kind of what I want to have a topic on: program drums versus the real drums.
Yeah,
You got so many drummers. Well, you got so many beat makers out there that are
right.
creating beats, and it's like, get a real drummer. And I get it, cost wise, but the time it takes you to find the right kick and to find the
Yeah.
right snare, and you could
Yep.
have did all that with a real drummer.
Yeah,
That's
my favorite musician all time is Prince, and he
yeah,
was really good to our radio show. But I mean, he was a one man band, but he
yeah,
played drums and he worked the synth drums in. But you don't find people the one man bands. I mean, there are exceptions that are doing
yeah,
it right, but yeah, if I think it's much tougher to find real good music or the music that we've been into all these years because I know there's bands out there. I
yeah.
mean, you're from Orange County. Do you know Slapback?
The
They're
name
like a
sounds
funk band out.
familiar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, Jared Harris and Slapback, they've been grinding for a long time, but
Okay.
yeah, it's not as accessible. In fact, we used to have a show on Live 365,
Mhm.
and I was on there today just seeing, how expensive it is because we broadcast on Mixcloud for
Okay.
music, and I typed in funk.
Yeah.
It said zero funk stations on Live
Really?
365. I'm like, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
I mean, if you listen to Sirius,
yeah, right.
they have the groove.
Hmm.
They play a lot of the old school funk stations, and then you have, I think, at least here it's 74. I think they play a lot of the Motown stuff. Now, did you get into a lot of the Motown stuff?
Well, Stevie Wonder was my first, and my parents had songs in the key of life, so I guess, and the Jacksons, so that for the Motown there. But my heavy influence was like the Minneapolis Sound, Prince in the
Okay.
time, and
Yeah.
and um, and of course all the funk bands you mentioned like
Yeah.
Zapp and Ohio Players and
Yeah.
George Clinton, P Funk, Kid Creole and the Coconuts. I love, and
Okay.
yeah, so many bands.
See, those bands really what got me into music in general. I mean, I started playing the trumpet in
Oh, okay.
grade, and then because I wanted to form a Ohio players, Earth, Wind and Fire.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, I
right.
love um oh man. I mean, pretty much any band that had horn, Slave,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
right.
in the way that they put that in their music was like in
Mm,
percussions as well, you
right.
know, and then I switched to drums and started playing drums and so
How about,
yeah,
could you go back and how good are you to play the trumpet now?
trumpet, nothing. I don't know anything about trumpet right now. I mean, what open C, that's about it. But we
Right, right.
talking elementary school. I mean,
Oh, okay.
can
Yeah.
probably uh I would say 1975,
Hmm.
1976 is when things started. And so
Right, right.
yeah. But yeah, being back in that time, like I was saying, the elements,
Mm.
each had different sounds. And you mentioned Prince. How did the Prince sound?
Yeah, it was
Prince.
that was in high school. I mean, I think the single was Uptown from the Dirty Mind album. And
Uh,
then for Christmas my mom bought me the Controversy LP,
okay.
which I
Yeah.
think it came out in 81, 82.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember running up to my room, putting on the turntable, closing my door, and Controversy came on, and in the middle of it's the Lord's Prayer. And I'm playing it real loud, and my mom's a Catholic and really big on the church. She's knocking on the
Really
door
beloved.
and saying, "What are you listening to?" I
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
"Yeah, it's just a song there." Good thing she didn't stick around for the next few songs because it was
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of raunchy. But yeah, so right there, I was into Prince and Minneapolis sound, and just every release after that had to get it. 1999 came out, and I got it at the record store. The record store owner let
Yeah.
us buy it the day before. You know, he kind of under the table let us buy it a day ahead of time. And 1983, I saw the 1999 tour with Prince, The Time and
Okay.
Vanity 6,
Yeah.
and that was my first show seeing Prince in Hartford, Connecticut. So,
Okay. Yeah.
and we just,
Minneapolis.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
I mean, Minneapolis back in that time period, it was a lot going on. Yeah.
Yeah,
Prince,
and there,
the
yeah,
time, and you know, and then from his bands, they would form.
exactly. Yeah. And we became good friends with a lot and still are friends with a lot of people in his camp.
Yeah.
The guys in the time, been really great to us. And Jill Jones, who was also in Purple Rain, and
Okay.
so many artists from the Twin Cities. But yeah, Prince was really cool. He started getting wind of our show, and we unofficially on Sunday nights hosted a show in his music NPG Music Club
Mhm.
on Sunday nights through his website. We were members, and we would have a show and would interview people and spin music. So all the chat, everybody was in the room like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, he knew what was going on. So he's like requesting copies of our show,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then
Wow.
put my show banner right on the official website of his website, MPG Music Club,
Okay.
April 2004. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was. And then as soon as he received the award, he closed that site down.
Oh.
So,
Oh.
but yeah, but it was nice. He gave it. We were the first radio station ever to get that honor. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, so fast forward, you know, a decade later, what's going on now with you? You have are you DJing? You got your own radio show now, or
yeah.
you got the YouTube
So
channel? And I'll put your YouTube channel in the description so people can check
okay,
out
cool.
your
Yeah, appreciate
interviews
it.
and stuff like that. Your website, you know,
Yeah.
I'll put that all down there. So what's going on now with you now?
Well, with the pandemic, it was like as my last show, I think at WVOF in Fairfield, Connecticut, was March 9th, 2016. And then right the next week, they shut everything down. So that was it. I never went back. As when things loosened up, I decided to do my own thing
Yeah.
away from the right out of the home. So, but it was, it took a little while to figure out what we were going to do. So I decided, well, for shows, you can't play, which I always say is you can't play artist music on YouTube or you'll get a copyright strike. The
Yeah.
artists don't care. They want you to promote their music, but
Yeah.
for some reason YouTube doesn't allow that. But anyways, so I started doing radio shows on Mixcloud. I rebranded the name Musicians Reveal with Joe Kelley. It used to be Upper Room with Joe Kelley,
Okay.
which actually turned out to be a good thing because then we decided, well, we're going to do interviews on YouTube, video interviews eventually, and Musicians Reveal. They're talking,
Yeah.
about their experience, like yourself want to have on. So yeah, that was it. So our focus now is on YouTube and Mixcloud, but primarily YouTube. We've been just
Yeah.
fortunately, I mean, in a short amount of time doing the video interviews, we picked up a lot of subscribers and support, and
Good. Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of work. It's different, but yeah,
It is.
it's fun. Yeah,
Yeah. I do have to agree with you. I mean, when you were the producer, the
yeah,
corporate
yeah,
setter, the editor,
yeah,
and
yeah. That's right.
I think,
I mean, I didn't go to video school. I just, people are like, how'd you learn to do this? I tell you, nobody
yeah,
taught me except me going in and Google search or on YouTube search and me sitting down and watch it and trying to replicate something and
yeah.
learning right there. Yeah.
That's kind of how I pretty much started. I was watching. I wanted Dom, and I
Okay.
have a hard time pronouncing his last name. He's no longer with us, but he had a YouTube channel called The Sessions, and
Okay.
he was talking. He's mainly a drummer, and he would talk about drums, and I'm like, I want to try to do this, because
Yeah.
being a drummer, there's a lot of drummers and so forth. So I'm like, why not? So I
Yeah.
kind of launched this channel in 2018. I
Right.
started
Right.
and did the NAM show and
Yeah.
just
That's what I saw. Did you go to the last one?
I didn't go to this past one. No, no.
Okay.
I did. I registered online, so I
Okay.
saw a lot of the sessions, but I
Right.
didn't go to this one in January, and I may go next year. Well, the
Mhm.
sessions that's for me. That's the thing because there's a lot of good educational uh, input from people.
Have
I
you
just
seen
wish
Victor? Yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I wish they had more of things that pertaining to what we kind of do, more music
Oh, okay.
journalism. They don't
Hmm.
have that type of stuff. And I want your opinion on, what do you think about AI and where it's going in the music industry today?
Yeah, I know it seems like it's here to stay.
Yeah.
Um, for myself, I do use AI just for writing sometimes, as far as like tidying things up.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's kind of I don't know. I'm not a big fan of like the AI as far as seeing it copy what was done before, and
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know enough about that, but I've talked to musicians who say, yeah, this thing's going to be keep on
Yeah.
exploding.
I hadn't dove into it yet.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
I
you're
mean, I don't know.
right.
I mean, I know Grammarly has like correctional things, and that's about as far as I
Right.
use
Well, yeah.
AI on.
Well, I know when I go to edit videos, I mean, I know if you use AI for B-roll, I said, I know I'm not going to use this stuff because it'll come up with something totally
Yeah,
unrelated to what we're talking about. So I just
yeah.
do my own thing.
I don't really do it. Now you interviewed the drummer from Slave, Thomas Lockett.
No,
That
he's a saxophonist.
okay, it was the
Yeah,
sax.
yeah.
Okay,
But
okay.
I have had
The drummer from
Steve
Prince.
Steve Arrington from Slave, who was the lead
Okay,
singer and drummer on the show. But yeah,
okay. I'm
but
thinking,
yeah, I've had pretty much almost every drummer Prince ever had on the show, with a few
really?
exceptions. Yeah, his
Wow.
first one. Um,
And they had some stories to tell.
yeah, and unfortunately, Prince passed away, which was a
Yeah,
huge blow. Myself and the whole world who was digging Prince and
yeah,
people who are his friends. Um, but people have loosened up on how they talk about their experience working or being around Prince. So
yeah,
lot of for the most part, people have been highly complimentary to him and thankful. I know
yeah,
anybody I've talked to over the years, they're always thankful that he pushed these musicians so hard to do things they never thought they could do, I mean, and it also gives him credibility. A lot of musicians to the next project they go on to, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Back then, and I would say probably in the 80s and maybe even well into the 90s, it was him and Michael,
yeah,
him and
yeah,
Michael, and that whole who's better, Prince or Michael, a lot of people thought Prince kind of went a little too popish, but when he compared his early stuff in the
hmm
70s when he first started, but then they thought Michael went too poppy
yeah. That's right.
compared to when he was came off, after the Off the Wall album. So you always had that battle with Michael and Prince. I mean, I like both artists, but
Yeah, I had in college. I had two posters on my wall as a freshman: Prince and Michael Jackson. And I
yeah,
would go. My roommate at the time was like from a really country part. I think it was from Allentown, Pennsylvania, industrial town. I would come to visit my girlfriend in Connecticut at the time, come back to New York, and my posters were laying on my bed. He would take them off every time I went away. And I was like, what's going on? But now I'm thinking back, well, the Prince thing had him in a bikini underwear with a cross behind in the shower. And I was
yeah,
saying, well, maybe there was reason he took it down.
yeah.
So,
But that was a little extreme.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But, oh well.
Oh, well, that's awesome, man. Like I say, I mean, when I saw your interviews, I decided I'd reach out to you, and what advice can you give someone that wants to get into radio, or someone that wants to be a journalist or a music journalist or just a YouTube contenter,
Yeah.
you
I
know?
mean, if you want to, YouTube's the spot right now as far as where people eyes are on and they're heading there, or just, they could be sitting back just going through and something will pop up on the screen and like, oh, let me check this out. And they
Yeah.
discover you, which first of all, radio now today, it's corporate radio. It's really tough because there's limited amount of jobs. A lot of shows are syndicated. So,
Yeah.
and if you're not hitting their ratings, they'll get rid of
Yeah.
you so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had Chris France and Tina Weymouth from the Tom Tom Club and Talking Heads. They're in the Rock and
Okay.
Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And we were talking during a show about when I was in commercial radio. I said, "Oh, I was in commercial radio." She goes, "You don't want to go back to that, do you?" So they know that it's just I don't recommend necessarily to go that route because it's like few and far between who become well known or make a decent amount of money. But
Yeah.
you can make money YouTube and
Yeah.
if you're going to do it on Mixcloud or Live 365, all these other outlets to do shows,
Mhm.
and it just depends on where you get your audience. I mean, you'll discover your audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, we discovered YouTube. Even social media. I'll be honest with you. Social media is so like all over the place that you could put all the effort to try to push whatever project you're doing,
Yeah.
and it gets diluted. And some people do really great on Instagram. Um, I haven't, to be honest with you, and we just put our focus into YouTube and just build
Yeah.
a following. Yeah,
Yeah. I have Instagram, and I'm not on it. I'm not. I don't.
yeah.
I'm. Mainly YouTube and Spotify. Those are my.
Okay, yeah. Spotify, yeah, yeah. Our I should mention our show. The audio is on countless the major podcasts like Spotify, Amazon, all the big ones, Deezer and stuff like that, iHeart. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, so that's how we do it for that. And if somebody's just starting out, just get in front of a camera. I necessarily didn't want to do that. I did TV shows before, but I necessarily didn't want to do it on YouTube at first.
Yeah.
But then I said, why not?
Why
So
not? Yeah.
yeah, so
I think everybody kind of started doing podcast and
yeah,
stuff during COVID. I mean,
yeah, exactly, right, yeah.
everybody decided. I mean, they had a lot of bands doing virtual concerts and
Yeah, I remember that
like
time. Yeah,
that.
I paid for, yeah. So,
Whatever. you contribute financially if you wanted to, or
Right.
like that, you know. Yeah,
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of the musicians that we grew up loving, some of them pass away. I mean,
yeah,
more
yeah.
than Chris Jasper was a good friend, and he passed away just recently. So yeah, from the Isley Brothers. So yeah,
Okay, yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
yeah, and we talked last summer.
Okay.
The last time we did an interview, we did a video interview, and he was on the show like 6 times. He would come into the studio, and just a great, spiritual guy. He never badmouthed. He wrote most of the songs with the Isley Brothers, but he didn't badmouth the rest of the Isley Brothers and whatever money arrangements that they had and or was unhappy with. He just a great guy. He's definitely missed.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I I had a couple of Isley Brothers albums, back in
yeah,
the day.
yeah.
That's good stuff. Yeah.
Really,
What did
really
you
good
think
stuff.
about Cameo? Did you
Oh,
ever
I love
like
Cameo.
Cameo? Yeah.
Yeah, I love Cameo. Yeah.
Did you think they
Um,
were underrated?
yeah, I think so. I saw Cameo. I've seen him in concert like 5 or 6 times, and I've had Tommy Jenkins from Cameo on the show, Jonathan Moffat, who played drums with Michael
Okay.
Jackson, the Jacksons,
Yeah.
and Cameo. Yeah, they're one of my all-time favorite bands. I saw them with Rick James, a double bill
Oh,
once.
okay.
Yeah. The only thing that's disappointing now, I mean, people get older and, Larry Blackmon's had some health problems and,
Yeah.
some of the other, a lot of the original members have gone off and formed their own thing. So obviously, I think there were some disagreements. And
Yeah.
so that's disappointing.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was going to ask you about, you know, a lot of these bands that you may have one or two members that are still around, even
Yeah.
whether regardless if it be rock or R&B, and a lot of fans are like, "Oh, well, that's not the original lineup." It's like,
Yeah.
who cares? As long
Yeah.
as they're playing the songs that we all loved and heard,
Right.
who
Right.
cares if it's the original lineup? And that seems to be such a big issue, and maybe more in rock metal music than R&B,
Right. Right.
you know.
Well, I'm a big fan of the time and more staying the time. The original members, they played together a lot less than the current members have been. I mean, we're friends with Torrey Ruffin, the guitarist. He replaced Jesse Johnson. He's
Okay,
been playing
yeah.
over 25 years, and he's an amazing guitarist, just like Jesse Johnson. But it's funny because you mentioned fans don't necessarily they don't like the replacement musicians
Yeah,
who come in, and there's all
yeah,
this criticism. But sometimes you go to a show and they're not even aware. Some people, I mean,
yeah, that's
yeah.
true.
So you got a little bit of both.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, so you do see a lot of that. I mean, people with health reasons they pass away, or just people just disagree. It usually comes down to disagreement about money.
yeah,
Yeah, unfortunately, that they're not.
unfortunately.
Still, yeah, they can't stand each other, and they're fighting about some money. So.
Do you have a problem with tribute bands trying to duplicate the sound, or is it like, okay, I get what they're doing?
Yeah, I kind of. I mean, I get what they're doing, and there are some tribute bands I really get into when they change it up a little to make it more original,
Yeah,
something a classic. But nothing beats the original people doing it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, but I mean, I don't look down, you know, on people doing it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I get it. I don't mind tribute bands. I mean, some people think, you have to sound just like them.
Right, right.
I know here, I think in Orange County, there's a band called, and they're kind of a tribute band and No Doubt. And they
Oh
sound
yeah.
just like No Doubt. I mean,
Oh okay.
you
Wow.
sat and closed your eyes, you're like, wow, that sounds like No Doubt. You
Don't they
know,
have a club, the Skyloft, out there?
I
I
think
heard of
so.
that. I think
Yeah.
that's Orange or
Yeah.
Montego. Yeah, they got. Yeah, I've just through YouTube. I knew it's from Orange County. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I try to get out there. I try to promote a lot of local. bands. But
Right.
sometimes it's hard, man, to go all over the place and
Yeah.
I mean, just I
I don't know. My hanging out at the club days,
yeah.
I may have retired it for only special occasions,
Yeah, I'm like
concerts only.
I go there to support, if I interview a friend of mine's band and so forth,
Uh-huh.
but that's all I go for is for the interview. I don't drink or anything, so
Yeah, I'm not a drinker. I
I'm
stopped
just
a long
going
time
for the
ago.
interview and then
Right.
gone.
Hit it and quit it.
I'm like, see you later. I'm gonna load this up tonight.
Yeah.
That's my
Who was your first concert?
my first concert was
Yeah.
Ike and Tina Turner and the Jackson Five.
Wow.
I
That's
saw him with
yeah.
my sister back in 1975 in Charlotte.
Wow.
I think I was 11 at the time.
Your parents
That
let
was
you
my
out?
first. That was my first concert that I went to, and I had the binoculars. I'm sitting way in the crazy nosebleed seats. I'm
Right.
like, ooh, that's what I want to do. I want to be a performer. Michael with the big afro.
Yeah. Right, right.
So yeah, we saw it. Then
Wow.
Ike and Tina Turner opened up for the Jacksons.
Wow, that's it.
So
Yeah, I never saw Ike and Tina, but I saw the
yeah,
Jacksons one time, but yeah.
yeah, they opened up for him, and I mean, we talking when they were they at their peak, as far as Mike
Yeah.
was young, and so yeah, I mean, that was my first concert that I went to, and from that,
So your parents were they were okay with you going? Obviously,
yeah, I
right? Yeah.
mean, my sister took me,
Okay.
so we all went, and I just knew then that's what I wanted to do is just be a performer, and then I'd start taking music and drums. My father brought a J.C. Penney drum kit.
Oh, really?
But back in the day, and this is we talking 76, 1976, when J.C.
Okay.
Penney, they used to have a catalog.
Yeah, yeah,
And every
right.
time I would go to the catalog and look at the drums, and I got a sparkle blue drum set.
Yeah. My dad worked for J.C. Penney's,
Oh
like,
yeah,
but it was for men's outerwear jacket. He was a buyer, so we went over to Asia and everything.
yeah,
He didn't talk about the drum sets. I gotta
yeah.
ask him about it.
Oh yeah, sparkle blue, man. It was a five piece, and I had that kit up until I went to college in
Wow.
90, no, 90, 82.
Hmm.
And then I came back and, I just started getting more professional and wanted to get a brand name kit,
Right. Yeah.
took it from there. So, and then I moved to Wisconsin and Wisconsin to Vegas, Vegas to California.
What made you move to Vegas?
I joined a band. Actually, all my
Oh.
moves were
Uh-huh.
band related. I didn't know anybody in Wisconsin. I moved to Milwaukee.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I saw an ad in Music Connection magazine
Hmm.
that there was a band that were looking for a drummer. It was a female fronted band and they were a rock band. And back then, I went from Motown to pop R&B,
Right.
listened to that, funk, and then I started venturing into more rock, more metal. So
Right.
Def
Okay.
Leppard
Yeah.
was like my first rock album.
Wow. Yeah.
When I heard the Power Mania album,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like,
Wow.
that kind of just took me like, who is this, man? This
Yeah.
is, and I started getting into more metal, back in the early 80s when the metal scene was really popping. I
Yeah.
didn't
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I didn't want to move to LA, back
Mhm.
then. So I went to Wisconsin and lived there 4 years, and that band never happened. But
Right.
I lived in Milwaukee. It was good. And
Yeah.
went to Vegas because I wanted to get more professional. I never played into casinos because I'm thinking, I don't want to. I want to do rock, man. I don't want to play in a
Right.
casino. So
Yeah. Vegas seemed to me, I've only been there twice the last 2 years. And just not my kind of town. Just maybe I'm going to I told my brother, maybe I'm going to the wrong spots, whatever. It's expensive. Like, I mean, we stayed at a
uh,
casino and it's just, wow.
yeah, I haven't been to Vegas in it will be 24 years. 2000.
Oh,
That was
okay.
the last time I
Wow.
went. You know.
Wow.
So I figured if I move back home to Carolina, I move overseas again, I move somewhere
Yeah.
out of California, I may go back to Vegas for a visit, you know.
Yeah, just to see what's going
'Cause
on.
since I'm
Yeah.
on the West Coast, and then
Right,
when
right.
I leave the West Coast, I probably won't be coming back to the West Coast, you know.
Yeah, we got different stages of our life. Who knows
Yeah, that's
where
true. And
where we're going to
that's
be
the
in the
thing
next
with
one.
music. I always tell young bands to go overseas, you know, if they want to
Mhm.
get popular, you know, and especially with rock and metal.
Right.
You know, if you got your first album promoted over there, then maybe come back here and, you know, because that used to happen back in the day. Bands would
Yeah.
go overseas and then
Right.
they'll let the album start, of course, with MTV now. I mean, back
Mhm.
then,
Yeah.
you know. Um,
Def Leppard was huge. MTV
yeah,
was a big
yeah.
album.
MTV when
You know, I
MTV.
did see a rock show that was memorable. The Clash. I saw the Clash,
Okay, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
I was only in a mosh pit for one song, and they had to stop the show because people were crushing each other so much.
yeah,
And
yeah.
wow,
I had to
I
step. I didn't get into the mosh pits.
no, I just that was my one only time I was like on the perimeter after that.
You were on the
So
outskirts.
yeah, yeah, that's it. If I could be in the
You're on the
parking lot,
outskirts just in case
yeah,
I get hit. There's a way to escape.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it wasn't for me.
So what's going on you with you? Anything upcoming? Got any interviews coming out?
Yeah, we got a bunch of stuff scheduled. We're gonna what we're trying to do is like a balance, a new one, a video once a week, but and I'm also in the process because I've been doing interviews since '82, so I'm been going into I have a storage area there,
Okay.
taking out and converting them digital and uploading as much as I can, and just to have them up there for preservation. You know, when
Yeah.
we're long gone, hopefully YouTube's still around and these other
Okay.
outlets, and um,
So you
a good
taking stuff from what you did
yeah,
and
like full
converting it?
interviews, and people want to hear. I mean, it's audio only, which I
Yeah.
put on Spotify and all the audio, but I also put it up on YouTube with like a video image and stuff like that.
Okay. Okay.
Just so people, we did a speaking of Slave, we did a really when Mark Adams, the bass player from Slave, passed away. We did a tribute to him, which I want to upload to YouTube one day. Drac came on,
Mm.
and Victor Wooten called in, who was on our show many times. But yeah, that kind of stuff. A lot of people don't know it about these artists, and just to have it out there, people
Yeah.
can search and discover it. And yeah, I think it needs to be out there.
Yeah. Well.
I got a friend he's the historian for Prince's Paisley Park, and he's written two books, Dwayne Tudall, and
Mm.
he told me, he says, you got to get that stuff up there wherever you have it. It's like a legacy for myself and other people came on the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, keep doing what you're doing, man. I
Yeah,
mean,
you too,
you're
man.
giving us inspiration, and us rookies here, we
Hey, I dug the interview you had, your latest interview. I mean, very talented artist. She's something.
yeah, she
You know,
is.
one thing I gotta give you a compliment. I was telling my wife this when I was checking out your interviews. You give your guests, the artist, time to speak, and you let things breathe like that.
Thank you, man. I
And
appreciate
because
it.
so because I was like fast forward, like if I do an interview, if I'm fast forward and talking to somebody and I move 5 minutes ahead, if I'm doing all the talking every time I jump ahead, I said I might have done too much talking. So
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
you're doing it right.
I just let people talk because they got the story.
Yeah, I always say it's
Just
their
shut up.
stage, you know? Yeah,
I appreciate it. I just shut up and just
yeah, you're
because
doing it right. I mean, yeah, I enjoyed watching the interview. So
I appreciate it, man. I got a lot of them. So for me, it's not about subscribers. I just like doing because everybody's got a story, especially music. Everybody's got a story of
right,
how they got to be where they are. Whether they
yeah,
are local or professional, and touring and all that. People have a story, and maybe that story can encourage,
mm,
somebody that's looking to do, music for a career. I mean, it is the music business. So, and
Right.
that's the thing too. You got to learn the business side of it.
Yeah, it's I've got a friend, Barbara Thomas. She works at Berklee College of Music, and she's told me several times about musicians, and she educates them. She says you have to, as a musician, you have to look at yourself as a your own business, a sole proprietor. You know, you take care of your taxes, your money, your health, and everything, and rather than just let others to handle it like that, just be focused, laser focused on getting things tight for your own, your own career.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you never know when things go down. Arm,
Yeah.
shoulder. you know,
Yeah, I mean, I was good.
Contracts you gotta
I
set.
was good friends with John Blackwell, drummer with Prince and the MPG, and he passed away unfortunately from brain cancer. And he, when he had the surgery the first time, he lost the use of his arm, and he was never able to make it back to be a drummer. And he was in his 40s, so you have to cherish what we're doing now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But Joe, I thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Hey,
I know it's been a long day. You probably
much
got
love
more
to you
stuff
and your
going.
show, Corinne.
Yeah,
And
thank you, bro. Thank
we
you.
were talking. You got to come by the show. I got
Oh
to pick
yeah.
your brain about
Yeah.
stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
it may be a lot of picking, but I don't know
No, 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 no.
how
I
much
really,
brain is there. It'll be a lot of picking, but
yeah.
pick
I'm
something out
thankful.
of there.
Right, right. I'm thankful you asked me to come on, and also the music. We got a lot of similar interests. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for the time, man. And we'll be talking to you soon. I'm probably gonna. I don't do much editing. I just
Right. Just
intro,
let it fly.
outro.
Yeah.
That's it, man.
Right.
My light kind of went out, so I'm in the dark here, but I'm
I
okay.
was gonna say it, but yeah. Hey, let it fly. I saw you, so yeah.
That's okay. I got it. I got another light here.
I turned the radio station off on Christmas Day in '83.
Yeah.
We had a it was a I'll make this real short, but we had a transmitter that was on a certain power, but at 8 o'clock we had to turn it down, like down to 25% of the power. Well, I hit the wrong buttons. Station went off the air. And I
Oh,
called I called up the program director. It's Christmas. He's having dinner. I said, "Hey Tom, I'm sorry. I turned the power off." He goes, "Don't worry about it. Wait for the next DJ to come in. We'll get it back on the air." So
he's trying
yeah,
to find his way. What happened to the power, man? Who
yeah,
did
yeah, right. So so yeah, things happen.
All right, buddy. Well, you have a
All
good
right.
evening today, and
Yeah.
talk to you soon.
Yeah. Thanks, Corinne, and we'll have you on the show, and thanks to invite me. I really had a
All
great
right.
time.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem. Hey guys, what's up? This is Corinne again from Power and Pounders Music Channel. My light's back on. I had my doing the interview with Joe. My light had went out, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me? You got to be kidding me! You got to be kidding me!" So I'm like in the dark, pretty much the latter part of the interview. So if you see something going completely dark, though you can still see me a little bit, my light went out. So, but that's part of it. What can you say? What can you do? That's just part of it. That's part of this business. Things happen. So just so you guys know, my light went out, and actually, what happened is I don't know what happened really. It just went out. So I didn't want to change it during the interview or doing any of that stuff during the interview. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna run with it. So anyway, so yeah, so it was a great interview with Joel. I appreciate him coming on to the show, and we had a good little chat before, during, and after the interview. So I put all his description, all his channel links in the description box. You guys can check out some of the interviews on his channel. And he gave some great advice and talked about his journey in the um, DJing and what he's doing now with his podcast channel, Musicians Revealed. And so gave some great encouragement for those of you who would like to do music journalism or get involved with, YouTube channel or whatever. So anyway, like I say, it's Friday, March the 21st. So hope you guys are doing well, and we'll see you next time. Peace.